Story 1. Security Room 4. The ad said, "Quiet job. Night shifts only. 21. 5. 0. One building, no rounds. Sit, watch. 26. HR. Uniform provided." I clicked apply without thinking. It had been 4 months since I was laid off, and the severance was already gone. Rent looming, phone silent. I needed anything. 2 days later, I was sitting in the HR office of a 6-story office tower downtown. Nothing special, glass facade, beige lobby, the faint smell of burned coffee and toner ink. The woman interviewing me looked like she hadn't blinked in hours. "You'll be in security room B, top floor, cameras only," she said. "You're not expected to leave the room. No patrol, no contact, just observe." Sounded too good to be true. I asked about the layout. 6 floors, 28 tenants, 1 elevator. "Don't worry about floor 4, she said. Too quickly. I blinked. "What's on 4? "Nothing. No tenants. No access." Elevator skips it. She smiled like that was supposed to make sense. "You start tonight." 21:08. Security room B was small. Fluorescent light. 2 chairs. 1 desk. 10 monitors stacked in 2 rows. Black and white feed. Each marked with a simple label. Lobby, garage, floor 1, floor 2, floor 3, floor 5, floor 6. I noticed the gap immediately. No camera labeled floor 4. I checked the elevator feed. The panel showed 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, no 4, not even a blank space where it should be. Like the number had been cut out of reality. I chuckled. Weird superstition? Then the monitor labeled floor 3 flickered. A hallway. Fluorescent buzz. Empty. Then movement. A man in a maintenance jumpsuit, back to the camera, walked slowly down the hall. Only, there weren't supposed to be maintenance workers at night. He turned. His face was blurred. Not pixelated, smeared, like it was wet and someone had dragged fingers across it. Then he stepped into the stairwell. Monitor went black. 5 seconds later, the floor 5 camera blinked on. He was there, staring into the lens, still smiling. I rewound the feed. Twice. Same result. One moment he was on floor 3, back turned, walking into the stairwell. 10 seconds later, floor 5, face pressed into the lens. He hadn't used the elevator, and there were no cameras in the stairwell itself. But no one moves between 2 floors in 10 seconds without running. And this man hadn't run. He'd glided. On floor 5, he stood absolutely still. Too still. As if the video had frozen, except for the subtle flicker of lights above his head. Then he turned his head slightly. Not toward the hallway, not toward a person. Toward the wall-mounted camera. He knew he was being watched. I turned the audio dial up, expecting silence, but there was something. Not breathing, not footsteps, a whisper. At first it was faint, random, then clearer. "We watch what they give us, but who watches what they hide?" I muted the audio, sat back. My hands were sweating. I started tabbing through the other feeds. Garage empty. Lobby cleaner passed out in a chair. Floor 1 lights off. Floor 2 nothing. Then the monitor labeled floor 6 began glitching. At first, just static. Then brief flashes, 2 or 3 frames each time. A face. An open mouth. A door halfway open. Then text, blinking once across the bottom of the screen. "You missed floor 4. I blinked. Checked again. Still no camera for it. No label. No signal. Then the speaker on the console crackled. The same man's voice, smooth, calm, too clear. "There's always a camera, just not always for you." Behind me, a monitor I hadn't noticed before, unlabeled, flickered on, and showed my room from a high angle. But the feed was not live. It showed me standing here, then sitting, then walking to the door, then opening it. Even though I never moved, I backed away from the monitor. The version of me on the screen opened the security room door, looked out into the hallway, then turned back, and stared directly into the camera. Into me. Then, without blinking, he smiled. Not relief, not confusion, recognition. And the feed froze. I turned around. The real door was still closed. My hands shook as I gripped the handle. Don't open it, I thought. But I had to. I had to prove I was still in control. I opened the door, looked out. Empty hallway, buzzing lights. Security cart parked by the elevator just like when I arrived. No sounds. I stepped out. 1 step, 2. The lights overhead flickered. The elevator chimed. Ding. Even though no button had been pressed, its doors slid open. I stepped back toward the security room, but the door had shut behind me. Locked. And from the elevator came a sound. Not footsteps. Wheels. Something rolling across tile, like an office chair, but uneven. Dragging. Scraping. And then a figure stepped out. The same man from the feed. Jumpsuit. Blurred face. But now, closer, I saw his jumpsuit had a patch. Not security. Not even a name. Just the number. 4. He stepped aside, revealing the elevator panel behind him. Now it had a new button. One that hadn't been there before. Floor 4. And it was already lit. I should have run, but there was nowhere to go. Security room B had locked behind me, no handle from the outside. The stairwell door had a keycard slot I didn't have clearance for. And the man with the 4 patch stood in front of the only exit. He stepped aside, gestured toward the open elevator. Not with impatience, with certainty, like this was inevitable. I stared at the panel. The 4 button glowed dull red, not white like the others, and the number was wrong. Not printed scratched in with jagged hand-cut lines. I stepped inside, hoping the doors wouldn't close. They did. Soft chime. No motion, just hum. The lights above flickered, then turned off. Only the panel glowed 1 button. 4! Still lit. I didn't press it, but the elevator began to move. Not down, not up, sideways. I felt it in my knees, the shift of inertia wrong for any real building. The walls of the elevator began to tremble. Not vibrate, breathe, exhaling warm air from the seams, smelling like dust, bleach, and wet cloth. Then the speaker crackled. Same voice as before. Access restored. Observation begins. The elevator stopped. The doors opened. Darkness. No hallway. Just a single room. Lit by red monitors. Dozens of them. Each showed a different version of the security room. Different guards, different faces, but all of them doing the same thing. Watching the cameras. Turning. Noticing floor 4 was missing. Getting up. Opening the door. Walking into the elevator. Every one of them. One monitor showed me. Now. Standing here. The man with the 4 patch appeared beside me again. He leaned in close. I could finally hear his breath. Wet. Mechanical. Repeated. Then he whispered, "You're not hired to watch, you're hired to replace." And he handed me a new patch. Already sewn with my name. Already labeled 5. I held the patch in my hand. The thread was wet. The fabric warm, like it had been peeled from another uniform moments ago. I looked back at the elevator. The button panel was gone. No doors, no seams, only wall. I was inside room 4 now. And it wasn't a floor, it was a system. The man, if you could still call him, that stood near one of the red monitors, his face never sharpened. It stayed, smeared, like the pixels of an old VHS paused too long. But when he turned to the screen, I felt something tighten in my chest. He was watching the next person. A new security guard. Same room I had once sat in. Security room B. She leaned forward, frowned, scrolled through the feeds, noticed the missing camera. "We always start with curiosity," the voice said, as if reading my mind. He gestured for me to step forward, to sit in the vacant chair before the new feed. I didn't move, so he stepped back, melted into the shadows near the wall, and whispered, "There always has to be someone to watch." I sat, Not because I chose to, but because the room needed balance. As I did, the monitors shifted. One showed me live, not from this room, from another. A man in a different building, different camera angles, but my posture, my stare. He blinked, and I felt it in my eyes. My reflection in the dark glass didn't match me anymore. It was ahead of my movements. Then the voice behind me said, "There are more floors than numbers, more rooms than doors, and now you are part of the feed." And from the wall, a new monitor blinked on. No label, just static. Then, in slow clarity, it showed my home, my bed, my door. Someone already standing inside it. I stared at the new monitor. My apartment. Camera angle from high in the corner, like a security dome in my own ceiling, only I never had one. It was night in the feed, lights off, window open. And in the corner of the screen, barely visible in the darkness, a figure standing motionless beside the bed, wearing a blue jumpsuit, patch labeled "Reviewed." I watched as the version of me in the bed turned in his sleep. No awareness, no defense, just waiting. The monitor blinked once, then cut to black. I stood. The walls around me rippled, screen after screen, shifting images. Other lives, other rooms, other shifts, all looping, all watched, and all ending the same way. In room 4, the man with the blurred face stepped from the shadows one last time, but now his face matched mine, perfectly, unblinking. He smiled and said, "There's always a seat open, especially for those who stayed past their shift." And behind me, the chair turned on its own, inviting. The monitor in front of it lit up. It showed a live hallway camera, footsteps, elevator door opening. A new guard stepped out. Looked confused, looked tired. I sat. Not because I wanted to, because it was my turn. To observe, to wait, to watch them notice. Floor 4. Story 2. Warehouse Aisle Z. The job was supposed to be simple. Third shift inventory assistant, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Quiet, repetitive. Count boxes, scan codes, sign forms. No customer service, no human contact. Exactly what I needed. The warehouse was massive, at least a dozen aisles, each long enough to vanish into haze under flickering sodium lights. A manager named Kip gave me the rundown during orientation. Short guy, nervous energy, smelled like old printer paper. He handed me a laminated map of the warehouse. Each aisle was labeled with a letter, A through Y. "Don't go past aisle Y," he said, not looking me in the eye. "If you see signage for Z, report it. It's not part of the grid." I laughed awkwardly. "You mean like someone mislabeling a shelf?" He didn't laugh, didn't blink. Z doesn't exist. If you find it, you've gone too far. I should have quit then. My first few shifts were uneventful. Scan, click, move, repeat. The silence was comforting. Even the wheeze of my inventory scanner felt rhythmic, like breathing in a dead building. But on my 4th night, something changed. I was midway through aisle Q, scanning crates of rubber tubing when my handheld chirped. New task. Zone. Z priority. High status. Active. I stared at the screen. Thought it was a glitch. Refreshed. Still there. I radioed Kip. No answer. The screen blinked again. Proceed to Aisle Z. Your presence is already logged. I looked around and saw it. A new sign. Hanging from the ceiling at the far end of the row. Black background. Red stencil paint. Z. And the air was colder down there. I walked toward the sign. Each step felt quieter, like the floor was absorbing sound. No echoes, no hum of overhead lights, just the click of my boots and the occasional wheeze of my handheld scanner hanging at my side. As I passed aisle Y, the temperature dropped sharply. Not cool cold, like stepping into a refrigerated unit that hadn't been used in years. The air smelled of plastic wrap, dust, and something faintly organic, like meat left too long in foam trays. And then I saw it. Aisle Z. Narrower than the others. The shelves taller, pressing in overhead like ribs. The lights dimmer, redder. At the entrance, a single box. Unmarked. I scanned it out of instinct. The device buzzed violently, louder than ever before. Scanning. Match found name. Redacted. Assigned inventory ID 392R. But it didn't say what was inside. And then the box moved. Not slid shifted, like something inside had shifted its weight. I stepped back. My scanner chirped again. New message. Continue forward. Touch nothing unless it touches you. Inventory is sensitive. I almost threw the thing. But the handheld blinked, and the map updated itself, now showing Aisle Z as a winding path of curves and intersections that had no business being inside a rectangular building. Each node was marked. Box awaiting designation. As I walked deeper, the boxes changed. First unlabeled crates, then items I recognized from my own house. A mug I broke in college. A shirt I lost 6 years ago. A cracked phone with my wallpaper still glowing faintly. I scanned one. Object. Personal. Status. Archived. Do not reclaim. Then a second box opened on its own. Inside, a bundle of paper. Every page was a form. Shift logs, attendance, incident reports, all signed. With my name, even though I'd never filled them out. Some dated years before I was hired. And on top of the stack, a single sticky note. Welcome back. You're almost complete. The sticky note clung to my fingers like it didn't want to let go. Its ink was smeared, but the words were fresh. I dropped it, backed away from the box. That's when I noticed the sound. A soft, rhythmic clicking. Far back in the aisle. Not footsteps, more like taps on plastic wrap. Slow, careful, coming closer. I turned off the scanner. Silence. But the moment I moved again, click, 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 I tried to backtrack. Find the fork in the aisle I came from. But the shelves weren't the same. They'd shifted. A new shelf stood directly in my path where there hadn't been one before. Stacked top to bottom with identical boxes labeled Fragile Archival Flesh, Handled Yes, Owner Pending. And written in pen along the tape of the top box, We keep what's offered. Then came a faint thump behind me. I turned. A new box had appeared. Small, open, inside, a folded uniform, my size, my name stitched in red thread, and something else beneath it, a key, attached to a lanyard labeled, Zone Entry, Repeat Access. The scanner in my pocket lit up without being touched. New notification. Operator 392. R. Suiting recognized. Completion 60, 3%. Continue toward core. My hand trembled. I hadn't signed up for this. This wasn't work. This was consumption. Somewhere deeper in the aisle, a new sound joined the clicking. Breathing. Not tired, not panicked, methodical. And then the air changed, like something big had just exhaled behind the shelves. And in front of me, the floor lit up with a faint path. Pale green, blinking slowly, leading deeper into the zone. The scanner buzzed again. You are now being counted. I followed the green path. Not because I wanted to, but because staying still felt louder than moving. Each time my foot landed outside the lit pattern, the scanner in my pocket vibrated, and a cold spike crawled up my spine like I'd just triggered an alarm inside my own body. The shelves grew narrower, boxes stacked higher, and their labels shifted from printed tape to flesh-colored paper, handwritten in shaky black ink. Tooth molar left. Hair brown uncounted. Voice partial. Face pending duplicate. I passed one open crate. Inside, an ear, floating in a clear gel. Not rotting, not bleeding, but I swear it twitched. Then I saw it. A mirror. standing alone between shelves. No dust, no label. I looked in, saw myself, but younger, different haircut. A jacket I hadn't worn in a decade. He looked up and stared through the glass. Not at me, into me. Behind him, a warehouse just like this, and a man behind him, wearing the uniform I now carried, face hidden. Then the mirror rippled like water, disturbed and cracked. The scanner beeped again. Recognition confirmed. Memory sample archived. 74%. Complete. I stepped away fast, turned a corner, and stopped. Before me stood the core, a circular chamber, walls lined floor to ceiling with drawers, filing cabinets without handles, and in the center a single pedestal. Upon it, a box, open, empty, and above it, on a suspended screen, Operator 392, R, insert self, session timed, delay will void remaining data. The air grew hot, heavy. It smelled like soldered plastic and wet teeth. The floor vibrated beneath me, and I heard that breathing again. Only this time, it wasn't behind me. It was below, and it was getting closer. The pedestal pulsed softly. Faint red light spilled from inside the open box, not from a bulb, but from something beneath the surface. Something alive. I stepped closer. The screen above me shifted again. Insert remaining components. Memory. Archived. Movement. Archived. Core-eyed. Pending. The scanner in my pocket let out a low tone. Not a beep. Not a chirp. A sigh. It vibrated once, then shut off. Permanently. I tried to turn away, but behind me, the shelves were gone. Just endless. Open floor. Dim red light. A boundary erased. And the air turned sticky. Every breath dragged like it was filtered through syrup and static. Then I saw movement in the box. A surface smooth. Dark began to ripple. Not liquid. Not fabric. It formed a shape. A face. My face. Mouth closed. Eyes open. It blinked. Then whispered, "This is your receipt." The pedestal extended 2 metal rods, arms, and held them outward, like offering a hug or preparing to fold something in. From beneath the box, another drawer opened. Inside, dozens of security badges. All identical. Same company logo. Same name. 390. 2R. The same ID I'd been scanned with when I first entered. I reached into my pocket. My original badge, the one issued by Kip, was gone, replaced by a small tag. Same number, but now engraved on something harder than plastic. I looked again at the empty box. The light inside now matched my pulse beat for beat, and the whispering around me grew louder, layered with static. "Thank you for your parts. Final count complete. Next shift may begin." And as I stared, the lid began to close. The lid slid down without a sound. Not hydraulic. Not mechanical. It just knew when to shut. A hiss of air escaped from the box, a breath in reverse, as if it had just eaten, and now exhaled my last trace. Behind me, the lights in the core dimmed, one by one. Each filing drawer locked itself with a soft click, like teeth closing in a long metal jaw. The scanner on the pedestal lit up one final time. Operator 392. R. Status complete. Inventory stable. Then my name appeared. Full legal name. Middle name too. I'd never entered that anywhere. Below it, a final line. Next eligible identity. Searching. I backed away. But the floor moved with me. Literally, the tile beneath my feet slid, keeping me centered over the pedestal. I couldn't run. Not because I was trapped, but because there was nowhere to run to anymore. The world had compressed down to a single logic. Box label scan, replace. I looked down at my hands. The tips of my fingers were fading, not disappearing, but flattening into monochrome outlines, like someone was erasing me from the edge inward. I screamed, but the core didn't care. It only replied with one final transmission. "Thank you for completing your shift. A replacement is now being routed." I looked to the shelves. Where once stood boxes, now stood people. Dozens, all wearing the same uniform, all facing forward, all labeled, and I understood. The warehouse never stored items, it stored roles, versions, echoes, and somewhere above, back in the real world, a fresh printout spat from a dusty HR printer. Position filled inventory technician, night shift zone access granted. Story 3. Content moderator. The ad was vague. Remote moderation contractor. NDA required. High hourly rate. Must be okay with graphic content. I'd seen worse. Been broke longer. The onboarding was quick. A call with a voice that never gave a name. A document that deleted itself after signing. Then, a login, a dashboard, and a simple rule. Flag, tag, never engage, do not replay flagged clips. I was assigned Tier 3 visual cue, the stuff too weird for AI. Clips without gore or language, but something off. Footage that made the algorithm nervous, as the trainer said. For weeks, it was manageable. Mostly home security footage, weird TikToks, live stream fragments, static-heavy videos, faces that didn't track properly. People talking to walls like someone was talking back. You get numb fast. Until one night, a video popped up without a file name. No metadata, no source link. Just a timestamp, 3:33 AM UTC unknown origin. The thumbnail was black. I clicked play. It was a room. Poorly lit, wide-angle lens, empty bed, closed door, digital clock glowing, 3:32:15, no sound. Just low hum, like a fridge or broken mic. I hovered my mouse to skip, but the screen locked, cursor frozen. Then the video played forward on its own. At 3:32:46, the door creaked open. A figure stepped in. Unclear at first, jittery, like low frame rate, but human, until it turned toward the camera. No face, just skin, smooth, like a blank mannequin head. It walked to the bed, stared. Then, at exactly 3:33:0, it turned to the camera and waved. That's when the screen went black, but not the video. My webcam light turned on. I snapped my laptop shut. The green light from the webcam flicked off instantly, like it had only ever been reacting to me, like it knew I would panic. I sat in the dark, heartbeat pounding in my ears. My screen was off, but I still saw that blank face burned behind my eyes. The way it waved, not like a greeting, but a recognition. The next morning, I tried to find the file, but there was no record. The queue had moved on. No logs, no auto flag, no trace. I messaged support. They replied in 11 seconds. Your current queue is valid. Continue moderation. Do not reference non-cataloged footage again. I stared at the message, then noticed something new on my screen. A folder, freshly generated, titled simply, Reviewed. Inside, nothing, except a still image. My bedroom, from the corner ceiling angle. Just like in the flagged video. Time code in the corner. 3:33:0. I checked the EXIF data. Captured 5 hours ago, while I was asleep. That night, I left my laptop closed. Unplugged the webcam, turned off my phone, even covered the TV. Didn't matter. I woke at 3:33 exactly, sitting up in bed, sweating, not knowing why, until I saw the blinking red dot. The ceiling light, the one with no camera, was recording. And across the room, my monitor flickered on its screen. A paused video. Thumbnail. Me. Sleeping. With something standing beside the bed. The video played itself. No controls, no volume, no escape. Just a loop. Me, asleep. The figure beside the bed, faceless, just like before. Only this time, it tilted its head, studying. Then, it leaned closer, almost nose to nose with my sleeping self. At the bottom of the screen, new text appeared. Does this subject express valid response behavior? Then a checkbox. Yes. No. I tried to close the laptop. Didn't respond. I yanked the power cord screen, stayed on. The figure on the video turned slowly to face the camera again. Its hand moved upward. Not to wave. To point at the viewer. At me. Then a second checkbox appeared. Flag this entity for content breach? And under it, user, moderator, 109. Behavior logged. That was my user ID. I backed away from the desk. The laptop shut itself. I stood in my dark apartment. Silence. Until my phone buzzed. New message. Moderation notice. Session incomplete. Flagged content will resume at 3:33. Please ensure visibility. Underneath was an attachment.wav file. 3 seconds long. I played it. My own voice whispered, "You left the feed open." That night, I didn't sleep. At 3:33, my monitor turned on again. By itself. The figure wasn't in the video anymore. It was in the reflection of the screen. Behind me, watching and smiling. I didn't turn around. Couldn't. Because whatever was behind me, whatever showed up only in the reflection was still, perfectly still, like it hadn't moved in hours, or never needed to. The screen dimmed again. Then a new interface appeared. But it wasn't the moderator dashboard, it was mirrored. Same color scheme, same font, but wrong. Upside down, backwards. As if someone else was viewing me through it. Text loaded slowly. Subject 109. B is under review. Unauthorized observation. 3 instances. Evaluation in progress. The webcam blinked on again, even though it had no power. And this time, it emitted a low, static pulse, not loud, but physical. I felt it in my jaw, in my fillings, in the base of my spine. On the screen, new footage appeared. But it wasn't a recording. It was live. A grainy, night vision view of me. Same clothes, same room, but the timestamp was yesterday. And in the corner of that footage, I could see someone seated at a desk, staring at the screen. Someone who looked exactly like me. A voice hissed from the speaker. Review complete. Subject no longer qualifies for human verification. Please await replacement. Then came the final screen. Content moderator, 109. B. Archived. The screen went black, but the reflection in the screen stayed. Even after I stood up. Even after I unplugged everything. Even after I closed my eyes. For days, my system was locked. No new queue, no support access, just a message every night at 3:33. Please prepare for reassessment. My webcam turned on automatically. My microphone stayed hot even with the laptop closed. Then came the sounds. First through the speakers, then through the vents, then inside the walls. Whispers, but not in words. Feedback loops. Echoes of me speaking before I ever said anything. One night, the doorbell rang. 3:33 on the dot. I didn't answer, but the laptop turned on. Live feed. Outside view. My front door. No one visible. Only a shadow on the ground. Not human. Not consistent. It shifted, pixel by pixel like compression trying to hide its shape. Then, the screen blinked. Final prompt. Moderator no longer sufficient. Next viewer accepted. And in the reflection of the screen, I saw myself get up from the bed. But I was still seated. He turned to the screen, stared at me, and smiled. You shouldn't have watched it twice. Then the laptop powered off. Permanently, and my dashboard never came back. Only a new folder on my desktop, named Moderator 110. Inside, a photo, someone asleep, a different bed, a different room, a laptop open, waiting. The end